Alright, my name's Ezra and today I'm going to teach you guys how to change a flat tire or a tire that is leaking. This is my lovely assistant Yaira Robichaux, my younger sister. She's going to be recording for you guys today. I'm just going to show you what we got over here. So if you look at this, it says our rear tire pressure is supposed to be 30 psi. And when we go over here and check our tire pressure, this has been an ongoing issue for the past couple months. I'm gonna take that. We're gonna check our pressure. Our pressure is at like 25 psi, and I filled this just a couple days ago. I'm gonna put that in your pocket. So obviously we have a leak somewhere. So we've got our tools, we've got our sockets, we've got a 19 millimeters socket for the lug nuts. We've got our wrench, we've got our tire plug kit, and then some other tools and our water. And I'll show you guys how we're gonna do this in a minute. We're gonna jack the car up and get this tire off. I'm gonna hand it off to my assistant. You can hold it, you don't have to hold it like super, you can get your hands around it. All right, so we've got some cardboard here. This is just for your knees so you don't get super bruised up. We're working in the garage where it's nice and dry. You can just stand back here and kind of like keep it in one place because you don't want to move it around a bunch. So just keep it like, yeah. All right, and so how this works is we're gonna take the tire off, we're gonna roll it and spray it with water, and wherever the leak is, air bubbles are gonna pop up, and that's where our leak is gonna be. And so we're gonna take one of these tire plugs, we're gonna wrap it in here, and we're gonna puncture the hole, get it nice and smooth, so that we can slide one of those plugs in, and then we'll use our knife to cut the plug so it's flat with the tire. So first, I'm gonna get this tire off. These should come off pretty easy because I changed the brakes on this. Oh, you gotta jack the car off first. Probably a good idea. First, you wanna get these loose while it's still on the ground. This is what's called kind of like cracking the lug nuts. So they're not super tight. Sometimes you might need a breaker bar, but these should come off fairly easy because I was in here a couple months ago. You want to get them loose while it's on the ground because once you take the tire off the ground, sometimes that tire will spin. But I have my e-brake on, so it shouldn't spin even if it is in the air, but you don't want to just be pressing against your e-brake all the time. Oh, this one's tough. Whew, there we go. Now we're gonna get our car jacked up and get our tire off. And I already set this jack in the right spot. And typically you do want to use jack stands when you're working on your car, but we're just taking the tire off and working on the tire. We're not going to be underneath the car at all. And this should be a relatively quick demonstration. So there's not going to be a ton of pressure on the jack for a long period of time. This is also a pretty heavy duty jack. I use this on the minivans and the Honda Pilot. So this can take a lot of weight. And sometimes the jack will make noises just as it's setting. And that's okay. I think we have some lift off here. And you want to do your best to take off your lug nuts in an even fashion. You don't want to just take one all the way off and the next one all the way off. It just makes your life a little bit easier to just loosen them at an even pace with each other. And that goes the same for putting them back on. So as this comes off, you might just need to press against the bottom of the tire so that you can get these off. can see, they're pretty much all ready to go here. Just pop these off. And you want to make sure when you're putting these back on, we'll go over it, that you don't put them on incorrectly. Because if you don't, it's like a water bottle. If you don't put the top of the lug nut on right, it can go in crooked, and then you can end up stripping it, and it'll get stuck, and you have to break it off, and then it's like a huge, big pain in the butt. It just happened to me on the last car that I worked on. And there is a specific pressure, like you can use a special wrench to put these on to the exact pound that they're supposed to be. But that's really, you can just put them on till they're tight. And you don't have to over tighten them. A lot of people will put their lug nuts on way too tight. You don't have to do that. This last little guy right here. All right, and so now you want to put your lug nuts in a safe location that you're not going to forget. When I'm working on cars, I like to put them in the top case of my kit over here. So I'm just going to pop that tire off. All right, now this is a little dirty, so we've got some rags over here. Wipe this off. This is going to piss Dad off. Now, one of these tires, I already fixed a leak on some other day. I don't know if it was the same one. But, okay. I'm just gonna drop it a couple times. You can back up a little bit. Alright, and I'm just gonna throw my headlamp on real quick, so that we can really get a good look when we put this water on. That mess over there. Alright, just want to film like the top of this tire. And you want to, first thing you want to do is you just want to go through and look and see if there's any nails or anything sticking into the tire, because usually that's going to be where your leak is. And so you just want to check that first, because that's happened to me before. If you're going over your tire and you see like a nail sticking in there, that's where your leak's gonna be. So I'm not seeing anything obvious sticking out. Really thorough. And sometimes you find it really quick, and other times it takes a minute to find the leak. I'm just gonna make sure. I don't see anything obvious. All right, so now I'm gonna grab my water, and we're just gonna spray. You stand up and just get. Well, see where my headlamp shining? Just shine wherever that's my headlamp is. So we're gonna spray. And then we're just gonna look for any air bubbles. I don't see any bubbles up here. Sometimes it takes long. All right, so we found the hole. It's right here. See how it's making like a noise when the water gets on it, because it's pushing it out of the way. You can't see, it took us a while, but the water, it's making it makes, I don't know if you can hear on there, but it makes a different noise when it hits the hole. So it's right there. You can see the water is kind of bubbling around it. Bunch of air bubbles there. All right, so I'm gonna put my finger right there so we don't lose our spot. And then I'm gonna open up. Hold on, I'm gonna stick this in it just to keep it. Where'd it go? Right there.
put my hand there.
I'm just gonna make sure that is the spot before I accidentally do something. Yep, right there. So I'm gonna leave that right there. And I'm gonna open up our little kit here. It's just kind of being a pain in the butt. It's okay. These are I had this in the back of my car. I didn't have to go to the store and get it. They're like a couple bucks, I'm pretty sure. And it's always good to keep one of these in case something like this happens, so that you can just pull over on the side of the road and get it fixed. And then obviously, you're probably wondering how you're gonna get air in it. You wanna carry a can of Fix-A-Flat with you as well, because those aren't too terribly expensive. And they can fill up your tire with air like 1 or 2 times. All right, so we've got our strips here, our plugs. Then we got our 2 tools. Now this first tool, what it is it's a primer. So you're gonna wrap it around, and this is where it gets pretty tricky. Hole right there. This seems like you shouldn't be doing this, but this is how you do it. You gotta press this in, twist it to get this hole big enough so that you can fit the plug in. Because what the plug does is when you get it in, it expands and it fills the hole, doesn't let any air out. This can be really hard sometimes. You can wiggle it around. This might take a minute. Sometimes you can use a hammer to give you some help. It's gonna be really hard unless this hole is big enough. Let's see if we can get this guy in there now. Oh, there we go. That's good. This has the spikes on it, so we're gonna twist it. Basically, this is what really makes it work. It's a good workout. Twist it around a bunch. And again, don't be worried about all the air that you're losing, because that's just gonna happen. My finger over that so you don't lose like a ton of air. And then I'm just gonna leave that right there. Right, now we probably only need like half one of these. So I'll grab my knife. Cut this little guy in half. Be careful not to cut yourself. You always want to cut away from yourself. Oh, oops.
And from your sister.
And yeah, and your sister. Actually, you know what? I think that's pretty good. But I don't think you have to cut it. Alright, so now we're going to thread this guy here. This gets kind of tricky. And this is actually an opening right there, so this should slide out. And then I'll pull this out. And fit this guy in. hopefully we can just pull it out like that. Booyah. And then, I don't even really think we have to cut that. That's probably fine, just like that. And so now, that is plugged. And you'll see if we spray some water around this, no air bubbles. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna expand and totally cover that hole. We don't have to worry about it anymore. All right, so I'm back up. All right, so now we're gonna grab our lug nuts. We're gonna line up. See. And then you just want to slide, get these on, make sure we don't want to strip them. So that one on, that's gone right. Put that on. Let's see. All right, there we go, that guy's on right. And then we can take our foot off. Get this on. And now, we have a 19mm socket. We're just gonna switch that so we can tighten these. Righty tighty. And let's see, we'll go 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we're just gonna get that back on. That's gonna be all set. We'll clean up. So I'll just come back to you guys when I've got that. Remember, we lost a lot of air while we were fixing that. So we're gonna fill this back up. It's gonna be to 30 PSI. That's good. There we go. Just go top to that. Go top. Alright, now we're just going to clean up. We're going to set our jack back down. So we're just going to do this nice and slow, or first we're going to take the cardboard out. Need this more. We can put our tools away. And then just in a couple days, just go back and check that and make sure those lug nuts are still tight. It's just a safety precaution. We're going to save these, put these back in our trunk, and hope we never have to use them again. Pick up your trash so your mom and dad don't yell at you. And then we're just going to slowly let the car down. that is how you change a leaking or flat tire.